That's an intro. Hello, good evening. I've warmed up now. Give me a sec. I hope you're all doing all right out there. I hope you can hear everything, see everything, all those sorts of things. I look a bit of a state. I think I only went through one hedge, backwards, as it were. I can't see anything. That looks all right. Okay, Sound and Vision says, "Spur me the spaceman." That's great. Thank you for that. So, hi, thanks for turning up in the chat and waking me up because I was not aware of the time. Was still fiddling, as you do, as you do. Hi, Ken. Good to see you. Jack. Spur me already said hello. Hi, Rob. Good to see you. Zorb, Steve, and Steve. Hey, Steve. Another Steve. Oh, that one was me. Nikki Les, hi, how you doing? See, look, I've been doing this for like over 10 years now, and I've just about got the hang of a couple of people's names. I think that's pretty good. And there's another Steve. Candid Dogs. Hi. Good to see you all. Look at all you lovely people. Oh, Nick, I'm so sorry to hear that. You know, I think you know, synths or death is really the choice we have. I think if you have to get rid of one or the other ultimately. Matt, hey, good to see you. Yeah, I got some pews in there, most definitely. That was fun. You're constantly disappointed. Oh, that's a shame. Well, you just need to watch this channel because all the disappointment then just comes to me, and you can you can see how much better the world is beyond my mere limitations, if you know what I mean. If someone like me can draw an audience, then flipping anyone can. Is all I'm saying, right? Is all I'm saying. So, hi. Is it windy? Actually, no, it's not. I mean, it is at times. Even if we mean at this moment, then no, it's not windy. I understand there is a storm rolling in across Ireland, which I think is where you are. So, no, it hasn't quite reached here yet. It's been a very autumnal day. There's been leaves everywhere floating around, and there has been some wind. But we seem to be safe where we are at the moment. And stay safe out there. Keep hanging on to those trees if you're out in the wilderness. Is my lighting right? It seems a little dark from where I am. And never mind, I'm not going to fix that right now. That's good. Yes, I'm feeling better. Thank you. It was a tooth in the end. It was a tooth. 1, 2. Is that loud enough? Bring this in a little bit closer. Yeah, I had what I thought was sinusitis because nobody wants to have a bad tooth. So I had a bit of a bad cold after being away for the weekend and doing a lot of swimming in a swimming pool. I sort of developed a bit of a cold, and then that seemed to spread to the side of my face. And because there was no specific sort of tooth that seemed to be causing me a problem, I just assumed it was sinus related, and I got lots of drugs. But then it just got to the point where I could not stand it. I don't think I've ever been in that position before. Even with a back. I mean, I've suffered from sciatica and back problems in the past. You know, hence this. You know, always sitting on a thing, which is keeping my back going. And there's some horrendous pain involved in that, but you can usually find a way out. You know, you find a position where you're no longer in pain. With this, there was no position. It just kept growing and growing, and I'm going, and I came in the morning. I took one of my kids to work. I was kind of okay. I was just on, you know, normal drugs. Is this interesting? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to keep going with it, and. I came back, sat here. I've been here a couple of days just on ibuprofen and paracetamol, and I've been, you know, doing okay. This is earlier in the week, and then I sat there, and the pain just started getting big in the side of my face, and I was expecting it, you know, just to go for a little while and dissipate, but it didn't. It just kept getting bigger, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh my goodness!" And then I'm standing up, going, "Oh flipping heck, what am I supposed to do?" And that was sort of my Thursday last week, just going, I don't know what to do. And, you know, it's like you want to feel like you want to pull your face off somehow. And I don't know. So I fortunately discovered that holding a mouthful of water, because I was running around back to the house thinking I just didn't have any idea, so I decided to rinse my mouth out thinking that might help, and holding water made the pain go away, but for about 30 seconds. And so I was stuck at the sink holding water in my mouth going, oh, thank God for that, and just having a breather, and then it would build up and up and up, and I'm going spitting the water out, getting some more water, and it would go down. And I was stuck in this sort of loop, and it was, like I say, only about a minute long, this loop. I'm going, I don't know what to do. So I called my doctor, and they were good enough to see me that day, in a couple of hours, as I sat there in this routine thinking, heck, and Googling like crazy, what was this all about? And found lots of evidence that it could well be sinus related. So I went to doctors. I had to take two canisters of water with me in order to make the drive, and then to sit in the waiting room waiting to be seen. And eventually had a conversation with the doctor who gave me lots and lots of drugs, which was lovely. So this was Thursday, and I was thinking, it'll be all right. It's just antibiotics is all I need. Oh, it's a shame I'm not going to be able to drink at Bristronica, but, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. But it took all day for those drugs to kick in, and I sat there at home just miserable. Miserable. And I contacted my dentist thinking, it might be dental, I suppose. And they said they would have done the same, given me drugs and antibiotics, and then would have seen me after the weekend. So they booked me in after the weekend because, private dentists and all that, they just book you in, because that's just the way of things. So, I had an appointment on the Monday after the weekend. But by sort of Friday night, I'm thinking, I've got to drive to Bristol. Can I drive to Bristol 4 or 5 hours on these drugs? And is that going to be okay? And what happens if it starts to really hurt again? What do I do? So, I mean, it's a real shame, because I planned to take my daughter, Nancy. It was going to be her first trip to a synth thing with me, and all her brothers have gone to Sheffield, sometimes a Synth Fest, or to Super Booth in Germany. And so Nancy's going to spend the weekend with me in Bristol. We were going to have a bit of a laugh looking at synths and talking to people and getting ice cream at every opportunity, I imagine. And sort of Friday night, I'm going, I don't know. I just don't know that I can risk it. And I was already feeling woozy from these high-powered paracetamol plus, or whatever it was that they were giving me. So I thought, sod it, I'll wait till the morning, because I always drive in the morning. And the next day, no, I was kind of out of it. My mind was out of it. I couldn't focus. And the pain was still, I could feel it, like a big wall of pain sitting there being held at bay by these drugs. And it was just impossible. It was not going to be a good time at all. So sadly, I had to miss Bristronica, which was just a shame, because I had lots of plans. I mean, the fact that it was over 2 days rather than 1 day, I thought was brilliant, because having been previously, and it's been a single day, you just don't get the time to spend talking to people and looking at the things you want to look at. I mean, you can fit it in, if you can make it work. But having 2 days just seemed brilliant. That would give me a chance to look around, because I also get stopped and talk to lots of people because people want to talk to me, which is lovely, and I love that. But it does take up your time. So it's having the 2 day Bristronica, I thought was going to be much, much better for me. So I was really sad not to go. And I missed Lula playing, and Nick Colt Void was playing on the Saturday night. It's like, who are people who are dear to me because of Synth East, and I wanted to see them play. That would have been brilliant. But denied. And also I'd arranged to meet lots and lots of different people, manufacturers. I wanted to talk about Synth East with various people, book them in. I'd had business cards made up. I mean, let alone booking an apartment and parking and tickets and stuff. So yeah, a massive disappointment, sadly. But hey, I went to the dentist on the Monday. He had a poke around. Dentist is a funny guy. I always found him patronising before, because our dentist changed from an NHS to a private one, and they agreed to keep our kids NHS on the books if me and my wife went private. So we have to go in every 6 months to get our teeth cleaned and pay a fortune. but it's worth it for our kids ultimately. But also on an occasion like this, it ends up being, it means you can get in, but flipping heck, does that cost an absolute fortune? But anyway, he sat me down, asked me what the problem was, and then took a tooth out. This great big fat one here, and it's gone. It's all gone away. So that was it. That was the thing. So even though it's my whole face that hurt, it was just one particular tooth. And oddly, that's been a little bit of a problem for a couple of years, so I'm quite happy to get rid of it. It was just terrible timing. So there you go. There's my whole story. So I lost a whole week, and I can't tell you how behind I was to start with. And then I'm sitting here going, I'm so far behind. I've got so much to do, and now I've just pissed a week away, feeling sorry for myself. Just awful. But yeah, pain like I've never known. So there you go. That's my little story. So thanks for asking. Anyway, sound and vision. Anyway, back to that. Yeah, I'm just going to catch up with the chat. Hi, Faraway Tree, Body Electric, Animotion Music. Hi, how you doing? I've got Half Beast, Mr. Grumpy. Yeah, I missed Synthfest as well. I mean, that was the double whammy. Is that we had a friend, close friends of ours, 50th birthday, and it just happened to be that weekend. It was the only weekend that they could get everyone together, and sadly, I had to sacrifice Synth East in order to go. Which was great. I was absolutely happy and overjoyed to go, but obviously missed Synthfest too. So I missed both, and I didn't even get the Super Booth this year either. What a disaster! Thank goodness for Synth East. At least I get an opportunity to do a little bit of a synth weekend at that. So yes, thank goodness for that. So that is coming along soon. As I say, I was hoping to sort everything out at Bristronica for it. So I'm sort of left. I've left sort of the week after Bristronica, just thinking, everyone's done a big festival. They're going to want to calm down. So hopefully this coming week, I'll be reaching out to all the manufacturers to start booking people in and get that going so that we can have an exciting festival for you in February. I mean, I can tell you a few things. We're releasing tickets, I think, the end of the month, by the end of the month. So where are we now? So possibly this time next week, I think. Yeah, so before the end of the month, the tickets will open. To give you a quick rundown of what it is this year. So we have John Fox on the Friday night being interviewed by Adam Buxton. So Adam Buxton has come back again, which is fantastic. And he's been interviewing John Fox, who is a big synth head. Used to be Ultravox before Ultravox got mid-year in, I think, and has since then been a huge synthesizer, electronic music performer, writer, musician, whatever you call him. Anyway, so we've got him. Before that, we've got a movie, which I think we're still juggling it about, but I believe it's the Berlin movie about. It's this guy who did a documentary about the Berlin music scene in the 80s, for the 80s decade, which sounds extraordinary. So that's going to be great. So we're going to show a film Friday night, followed by the interview with John Fox. Then Saturday is the expo. The manufacturer thing all day, during which we're going to have the Norwich Synth Club entertain us in the morning, and then in the afternoon we have the All-Star Patch Off, who I haven't completely completed the lineup of yet, but I'm working on that, and that will be announced shortly, but some of you know who you are. And then Saturday night we have C Feel, who are an avant-garde electronic band who are playing. They're being supported by our own, well, I say our own, but only because we know and adore her, which is Lulu York is playing in support. I don't know if you remember the first Synth East we had, she played in the Patch Off, which was brilliant. But this time around, because, I mean, she's worked so hard this year. She's just been making so much music, gigging all over the place, and she's just doing extraordinary work, and it's an absolute thrill to have her in the proper support slot at Synth East in February. So that's going to be great. And then my slot. Yeah, somebody said to me the other week that I supported Blancmange. And I'm going, did I? When did I do that? At Synth East last year, I was on first, me, Gaz and Mylar. We played our little jam. And of course, we were supporting Ultramarine and Blancmange. So, I mean, that's quite epic, really. I just hadn't thought about it like that. I hadn't thought about that at all. So, yeah, isn't that fantastic? That's pretty fantastic. So, anyway, this year, it's going to be myself and Paulie Bow. We've decided that we could do a magical Molten Modular synth adventure for half an hour in front of a crowd. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. I'm really excited about it. Partly because it's not just going to be a modular jam. I mean, I love modular jams. That's what we're doing a lot of. But rather than sort of doing that again, doing that during the day and then doing that during the evening, is actually going to be something a little bit different. So there will certainly be improvised jamming because we don't have the time or the resources to get together and rehearse a lot. But we will get together a couple of times and we'll put something together which will have, I think, some plan and some structure. So it's not just going to be improvised. There'll be some plan, but we'll just kind of be jazzing around it. So there'll be some kind of, I know, let's start with this and finish with this, and we'll just mess about in the middle. So that's the plan for the Saturday night. So that's going to be quite exciting. Paulie's also going to play in the patch off along with Nikki from Dots, and I'm still working on another person. So that's great. That's a Saturday. Super excited about that. Super excited. And then Sunday we're going to do some DIY again. This time around we're going to do some tape looping with Jack from Beat Boop over in Bristol. He's going to come over and do some tape workshops, and we have room for a little bit more DIY, which I haven't quite sorted out yet. Another thing I was going to sort out over Bristronica, but I will try to sort that out this week if I can. I'm going to need to because the tickets are going on sale next week. So yes, I need to do that. So yeah, there'll be a little bit more of a DIY opportunity there as well. Again, it's small numbers for DIY, probably 2 lots of 6 for Jack, and then probably another 2 lots of 6 to do some other soldering, module building kind of DIY. That'll be the plan. So yeah, that's Synth East. That's in February 21st to 23rd. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Sorry if I have had major dental work, right? If I'm going a bit funny, it's probably time to open a beer. This week we've got Ghost Ship in a can. I've not seen it in a can before, so that's quite exciting. It's a less impressive, the bottles are quite nice with a great big ship on it, whereas these are a bit kind of, I'm not sure what to make of that. But hey, let's get that going. So that was my news, really, I suppose. In that regard. And I'm sorry we didn't get to have a live stream after the last Molten Monthly, which is also, it pains me to see that as the only video that I've got on the channel this month so far. But I've just been out of action. And I had all sorts of deadlines to do by the end of the month. So I was just a bit worn out when it came to doing a live stream on the Sunday. There's something else happening as well. What was that? Oh, God. But anyway, here we are. Let me just check through the chat. Oh, good. I'm glad I solved all Nicholas's problems. That's great. That's what we're here for. Honestly, I absolutely sympathise with you, mate. Totally. It can absolutely be enormously overwhelming, and also completely useless. I mean, you can have all this stuff and do absolutely nothing. It's completely possible. I go through cycles of feeling like it's a complete waste of time. What on earth am I doing? I think. So yeah, I think we can all relate to feeling overwhelmed or boggled by the whole thing. I mean, I was that I came to this in some ways because of that. I felt, as I was working all in the box on the computer, and I was doing everything I was doing was on the computer, and that became something that was just overwhelming. I couldn't seem to do anything, couldn't create music because of the enormous amount of choice that I had. It was actually stepping out of that box into this, which gave me a lot less choice, that I found really stimulated my creativity. However, now, of course, I do have a lot more choices and bundles of choices and stuff that's been thrown at me all the time. And it requires a little bit of discipline on my part, which I'm very bad at, to try to keep everything a little bit under control. But I'm managing at the minute. But I do sympathise very much with the feeling of just not getting anywhere. You know, what am I trying to achieve? Has this done anything for me ultimately? And what am I trying to get to? Because it's like, yeah, we recently had that discussion, or people recently had a discussion about whether synthesizers are a scam, and, you know, are they value for money, that kind of thing. And you get all these sort of top producers weighing in, going, "Oh no, they're absolutely worth it. I spent £5,000 on a synthesizer, and it allows me to score the next movie, this, that, and the other." And you think, well, that's not really most of us. Most of us are just filly-flamming around. Very few of us get the opportunity to make money out of our music, out of our gear. And in some ways, that's kind of like a myth that's perpetuated. There's this idea that you know, you get this stuff, you'll make your own music, you'll stick it on Spotify or Bandcamp, and, you know, you'll start to, that'll be your career, that'll be your thing. That's so desperately unlikely, and it's supposed to be more likely than it ever was, but I'm not sure that that's true either. I think the chances of being discovered and invested in are incredibly small, and the amount of stuff that's out there that for you to compete with is extraordinary. You know, there's stuff being uploaded all the time. How are we supposed to relate to that? And I think it requires a little bit of a change in our psyche. I mean, it's for me, it will always be there. I'll always have a part of the back of my brain going, "You're going to be a star, mate. You're going to be a star. Just keep at it. You'll break through. You will." And that's okay, because it's not locked away. It just has its own little apartment at the back of my head where it's quite free to go and make a cup of tea and to look out the window and to do its little thing. I don't mind it being there, because that in some ways is a little bit of a drive to try to produce and to try to release stuff. And now the rest of my brain is absolutely under no illusion that is going to mean that I'm some kind of musician or some kind of performing artist. You know, the rest of me keeps me grounded in that respect. But you need to have something living in the back of your head which is pushing you forward. You just have to understand. You have to somehow work out, come to terms with the fact that it may not be your thing. It may not be your destiny to be in the crowds of thousands. In which case, what you need to do is start your own synthesizer festival. It's the only way. It's the only way to get to play in front of a sizable audience. Believe me, I know these things. Yeah. So anyway, so there you go. There's some thoughts. Synchrotron, how you doing? Why am I still saying hello? I'm half an hour into this thing and I'm still saying hello to people. That's just crazy. But it's lovely to see you all hanging out. How many have we got? 99 people. Look at that. That's crazy. Yeah, toothaches. Talked about that. Private Dentist by Tina Turner. Yeah, 2 days was great. What a shame. What a shame. Am I going to Super Booth next year? So going back to this thing about being successful, the reality with this year is I couldn't afford it. Since moving on from Gear News, my income kind of plummeted, because despite my struggles with Gear News, I was able to generate cash from it, you know. And certainly there were points like around Super Booth, like around NAMM, where I could write a lot of articles and make quite a bit of money, which would last for a few months, you know, a few months worth in a weekend. You know, that was ace. And not having that has been difficult. It's been a struggle. So literally when it came to Super Booth, it's like, well, I don't have any money. How can I go? you know, whereas previous years I've just had cash knocking around. You know, there was enough cash flow going on in the whole Molten world that it wasn't a problem to, you know, to burn 500 quid on plane tickets and a hotel and that sort of thing. That was absolutely fine. But I haven't been able to do that. It's just not been possible. So we will see. We will see when we get to sort of March, April time, just to see what the state of things is. I've always got plans. I've always got, the massive, about this guy living in the back here telling me I'm going to be a performer. I've got a really tiny entrepreneurial one that just sits there and pokes me every now and again. It says, do something that actually makes money, which is one of our themes for this evening. Although I just seem to be able to be talking like non-stop. It's like, if I don't do this once a month, I evidently need the release. I need the release. All you got to do is give me a prod and I can just talk for hours. Yes, it was like, for instance, I did my best synthesizers video last month. I think it was last month. That's a good example of something that I should probably do, because it's had the most views of anything I've done for years. Just massive amount of views. Suddenly my income in YouTube went, and views and subscribers, all that kind of thing, which is great. And it makes me think, right, so if I don't just do really, really niche DIY videos on a particular module that nobody's ever heard of, if I don't do that and instead I actually do a video on things that people want to watch, then maybe this whole thing will work. Maybe it will. So that's something else I'm thinking about at the moment. So yeah, I do plan to do more of those. As I put in the description to this video, maybe we should talk about budget synths for a bit, because that's the video I've been meaning to do for the last couple of weeks but haven't been able to. Is to do a similar video but on budget synthesizers, because the problem with the best synthesizers, they tend to end up being expensive, because that's where the really good stuff is. But I think it's probably more helpful to people to have an idea of what's good, or at least what I think is good, in the $100, $200, $500 sort of range. So that's my plan for my next video. If I can find a window where I'm not either got a cold or got a massive toothache, that kind of thing. So what was I talking about? Yeah, going to Soup Booth. So it depends. If I can do more videos like that, more of the crowd pleasing videos, rather than the just me pleasing videos, then anything is possible. Anything is possible. There we go. Someone knows who John Fox is. That's excellent. Good. Yeah, Lula's lovely. Sorry, I'm looking backwards a little bit now, because I'm gone back in time to chat from 15 minutes ago. Will there be Atari computers? I'm assuming you're talking about me and Paulie. I have no idea what we're going to do yet. Guinness. A repair workshop. That's an interesting idea. It sounds too complicated. Bring your broken bits and we'll troubleshoot it for an hour and then send you home without anything. It's a nice idea, though. Oh, loving the bypass. Thank you for that. I had that earlier. It was going on and off up there. It was fantastic. I do have some modules that we can look at in a minute, if you like. Yeah. Why are you making a noise over there? Suddenly slightly perturbed. Let's ignore that. If I suddenly go dark, it's because my computer's exploded. That's a funny noise. Okay, never mind. Yeah, oversimplification of what creativity is. Yeah. Yeah, EMOMs are a good way to scare the life out of you, as well as encourage you to get better at what you do, I think. Um, yeah, I mean, it, part of because of what I do, because of what I do, because I'm doing videos, I'm very often looking at a new module and then I'm trying to explain it, and I'm able to express myself through the learning of a new module and then expressing it out through the camera into YouTube. And so I have this cycle, if you like, of self-expression, even though it's a little bit focused and dry to some respect because I'm talking about a piece of gear. But through that, I'm able to create things, small things, and then throw that out there. And that, I think, for me is tremendously healthy, and that really, really works. But if you're not in that position, and sometimes speaking to camera or the YouTube side of things can be very dispiriting if nobody's watching and you don't get any views, or you get bad comments, or whatever. You can start a YouTube channel with the intention of being awesome and showing things and being incredible, but if nobody's watching, it ends up defeating itself and it becomes a sore point as opposed to a creative outlet. So for me it's working. I'm very fortunate with that. But for my advice for anybody else would be to absolutely go to EMOMs, so electronic music open mics. There'll be one near you somewhere because they are all over the country, and it's just like an open mic in any pub where people would bring a guitar and sing a song. You take some electronic gear and you make a noise, and there'll be a small handful of people there and they will love it and appreciate it. And it's a really good thing to do if you are stuck with having all this gear at home that you're playing with, not really sure what to do, not getting anywhere. Then take something portable, get something that you can move, work on that for a bit, and then just take it out there. It can be the cheesiest techno or the most hackneyed ambient nonsense. It doesn't matter. It's getting out there and doing it. And you'll find that in that sort of 15-20 minutes that you play, you learn so much about yourself, about what you're capable of, what you could be capable of, your potential, and also how it rolls through your emotions. It's not. I won't say to you that you'll go and you have a fantastic time and it will be brilliant. No, that's not necessarily the case. You'll go, you could be terrified, it could go badly, but you will go through this range of emotions where, there could be frustration, but there will be moments of joy and extraordinariness, and there'll be disappointment, and there'll be, possibly anger at gear or yourself for doing something wrong, but then there'll always also be inspiration, and you'll hear other people. Some people will be better than you, some people will be worse than you, and that also plays and tugs and pulls. And I think the point is that at an EMOM, it's not going to solve all your problems. It will just give you an experience of life that you wouldn't have necessarily had before, because life is all about these feelings, having feelings. And at an EMOM, if nothing else, you will experience feelings that you don't get sitting in your shed, in your space, in your garage, in your basement, in your cupboard under the stairs, where you're playing by yourself. You do not get the same experience. So absolutely do an EMOM, because it will change how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your gear. And I think it's, again, very, very healthy is to have that outlet, so that this ball of creativity and emotion and frustration that you have around your gear gets an opportunity to be let out, however that comes across, however that is. I mean, don't hit anyone or throw beer over somebody, but other than that, any form of creative expression, I think is good for you. I'm hoping to go to the next EMOM. So there's one in November in Norwich at the Rumsey Wells. I am trying really hard. I mean, I've been saying that now since Arthur's last Synth East. I think I've managed to get to one, haven't I, since then? Possibly one, maybe two. But I'm going to try to go this time. definitely, because I need to get my act together, because I need to go and visit Paulie. We need to have a bit of a practice, so I need to have a case that's functioning as something that I can perform with. So having the EMOM and trying to get something together for that is definitely a good way to go about it. I see you're enjoying step 2. Am I? Which one's that? I'll know what you mean in a minute. I don't know what that is. That doesn't mean I don't agree with you. Hey Jason, is that you in the chat? Good to see you. Now Jason's got he's doing a jam at 10 tonight. I aim to be finished by 10. So Jason, stick your YouTube link in the chat somewhere so that people can move on to you when we're done here. That'd be great. Go and listen to Jason making silly noises at Get Jervis. That would be great. Hey Ken. Do I have cicadas in my shed? It's just I got a hard drive over there going crazy. I haven't heard a hard drive make noise in my system for ages. I'm just checking that I'm not recording. I am streaming, I'm not recording. What's going on over there? Oh, that reminds me. While I'm thinking about this, okay, this week I'm planning to have a live stream with Pete from Microsoft. Our friend Pete from Microsoft. We all know Pete from Microsoft, yeah? Bit of a beard, grey bearded guy. He does wonderful work with over at the MIDI, what's it called? MIDI organization, MIDI.org. He's been working on MIDI 2.0. He's a Microsoft guy. Been working with Windows and audio. He's been brilliant. I've known him, you know, we've spoken probably over the past decade or so from time to time about getting Windows stuff to work, because if you only know me as a modular sort of person, in a previous incarnation of myself, I was building computers and pushing forward the technology of Windows-based audio recording and music recording and stuff, and that was very much my life for a lot of my career. And I've only moved into this sort of side of things because, oh, well, I just got to the point I just couldn't be asked with computers anymore. But I still am, to some degree. I still run stuff on the Microsoft Surface, and it's that which is in particular something. There's a development coming along which is going to be very important for Windows portable computing and music making. And so this, I believe the announcement about it is tomorrow. So I can't really tell you any more at the moment, but planning on having a live stream this Thursday with Pete just to talk about it, because it's quite exciting. I mean, I would say it's probably arguably the most exciting step that Microsoft have taken ever towards us musicians. I mean, we've been largely ignored forever. We've been ignored. Which has been difficult, you know, and we've worked around it all this time. But perhaps now, for the first time, there's going to be some acknowledgement of our existence and something approaching helping our needs on the Windows platform, which is very exciting. So that's this Thursday. Not sure what time yet. Obviously, I'll stick a link up and stuff as soon as I've got that together. But that is the plan. To talk about that on Thursday, which will be great, because I'm dying to hear about it, and I'm sure people will have interesting things to say. So there you go. For those of you still interested in Windows computers and audio recording and all that kind of rigmarole. Right, let me just try to catch up with the chat. I'm sorry if I'm ignoring your question. I just want to make sure. Yeah, nice things. Well done, people. Oh, it's a... Is it? No, I don't have any step 2, but that is that what that looks like? Yeah, possibly. That is Ghost Ship. It tastes all right out of a can. Hi, another culture. Used to want one of those here Carillon systems. Yeah, bless. Those were the days. Those are the days. We were doing good work. There was a while there. There's a few years we were doing just fine work in the whole audio computer world. Yeah, and and I did I did fine work later on as well. I really felt that I did. Really felt that I was, contributing and solving problems for people. I mean, the number of times that I put a system into a studio or something, and it kind of people were amazed at how quiet and how powerful and how they would just work, and that was a wonderful thing to be involved in, to be able to provide that kind of service to people. It was great. The TO5. Yeah, Copilot. The greatest thing that is. Okay, good. I got to the bottom. Great. Okay, so well, look. Hey, I do have my camera set up, so I do have a few new bits that I can point out to you. So why don't we do some of that? Yeah. Let me think. I've got another view that's still got me on it, which is so that's a little bit helpful. So what should we look at in particular? So I think what might be nice would be to look at these Sound Machines modules. I've got 2 here and 2 here, which you can see here, the white ones. Slightly odd, perhaps, faceplateness, but they definitely stand out, and they do all look very similar because they're all following a same sort of format. They're from the T series from Sound Machines, and they have built-in touch strips. Yeah, which are completely automatable, controllable. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Show us how they work, Robin. Oh, I might. I will. Okay, hang on. I think what I might do is I might bypass the Erica Synths Resonant What's It. So where am I going from this? I'm going that to there. So let's just bypass that for now. Okay. So I do have a plan to do some videos on this. You can see all right, yeah? That's all right. That's close. Do you need it any closer? No, I think you can see. So let me just adjust this a little bit. Just bear with me. Okay. So we have these 4. So they are 4 different things. The first one is the same as this. Now this is the old. Here we go. The old LS1 light strip. It was called light strip LS1 from Sound Machines. I've had one of these forever. It was almost one of the. It was in my first row of modular. I think. Thought it was great. Still think it was great. Now I have had the Bella. I know lots of people are using the Bella, which is the sort of the gold one with the LEDs underneath that flash in different colours, and it has 1,000 different functions. I appreciate the Bella. I just kept coming back to this because whenever I booted up my system, I couldn't work out what mode the Bella was in, and then I couldn't work out how to change it to the mode that I wanted it to, and then I couldn't remember how to make it do the thing I wanted it to do. So every time I sat down with it, I had to open the manual and look at it and get confused, and you had to do like sort of 3-finger taps on it and then some other thing. So I'm absolutely convinced that the Bella is a fantastic thing. It's just not for me. It's like this is just too much faff to try to get it into a state where I can use it. Whereas this thing, it's there, you know. So this is the quad strip. So what happens is you just hold the record button and you go like that, and it continues to do the thing. Can you see that flashing away there? That's it. That's modulating. That's really just ridiculously simple. And there's, with this quad strip, with this, you know, there was one that, you know, you record stuff and off it goes. With the quad strip, there's 4. So I've got this button down here and I press it again and it's now no longer doing something. So I want it to do something. I just go like this, I'm just you can't see, but I'm holding a button. And when I let go, it just continues doing the thing that I did. Yeah? That's it. And there's 4 of them. 4 of them in the one module. Simple, easy. So if I turn this up, let me try to demonstrate what that's doing. Let's take that. Can you still hear me and that? I'll try not to have that too loud. So if I'd taken out from that, you can see that. I've got a nice long cable here. That's good. Oh, that's going into that, is it? Oh, I see. So if I take out one, for instance, got that, out one, that's going to go into the filter, which you can't quite see. Do I care? Not really. So it's going into this filter down here, right? So if I go back to 1, turn that off, offset that a little bit, simply that. So what I could do, just do that. You can record up to, I think, 20 seconds. I might have that wrong. That might be the old one. It might be a lot longer than that now. But you've got an offset as well on here. You've now got a knob to scale it. So I can scale it back a little bit. Like that. And as I say, it's got 4 outputs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple, easy. You can use it for modulation. Obviously you could run it through a quantizer in order to give you pitch and that kind of thing. Alright, people are having other conversations, that's fine. Not going to get distracted. Yeah, so all I'm saying really is that is built in to all of these other modules, which are not just light strips, they are actual other things. So this one here, for instance, is an oscillator, or they call it the generator. So if I bring that in, so where's the output? I'm using this at the moment. It's going into there, so let me pull that out. Why can I still hear it? Okay, because it's doing that, that's doing that, that's out, that's going up there. Let's put that in. Right, I'll just take that out of bypass. So I've got a sequence going into this here, which is the T generator, and this has got sort of a square or a sine output. The square's got pulse width modulation, and you've got pitch, of course. Oh, I've taken out a tune now with the other bits. Oh well, never mind. So that's the square output. So you've got a triangle output, which is all by itself. But then you've got a sine wave output, which also has a wave folder. Now what's cool is that it has this light strip built in, which means you can modulate itself with itself. So it's got 4 different options. The first one's vibrato, which goes all the way to kind of craziness. But we can put it into pulse width, for instance. And I can record a bit of pulse width modulation directly into the oscillator. It's pretty groovy. Alternatively, if I'm using the sine, I can do the same with the folding. Oop. Like that. Simple, easy, nice. Now I can put it through these other things I've got over here. So this is, where's this going? So this is the thing to the thing. Let's put that into there. And then let's take this one, which I did that to, put that in there. Take the out. So this one here is a formant filter. Let's take the square output. Got some flanging built in and some distortion. I don't really understand formant. Well, no, I understand formant filters. It's a bit mouthy. It's a bit sort of band passy, but they're not necessarily my scene, man. But that's the idea. And then similarly, over here you've got a spectrum one. I haven't looked up what this one does, to be fair. Let's try it out. I have no idea. But I mean, that's the basic idea, is that you have this range of modules, each of which has its own 4 parameter modulation built directly into the module, which I think is a really interesting idea, because often I find you don't tend to do very much with oscillators. You use them as they are, and you do things with filters, and you do things with other things. And so, in particular with the generator, I like the fact that it has these things built in, because I'm more likely to use them, rather than having to find an LFO from somewhere else or an envelope from somewhere else in order to try to modulate something. I can do it all within the module itself, and I like that. But I particularly like the quad strip. That's going to be a permanent feature, simply because I can bang out some modulation on it really, really quick. It's like with the the Neo Trinity. I've been thinking about this a lot, actually. The Bastille Neo Trinity, which is quite a remarkable module. It has all this feature set built in. It's got this quantization, the ability to record automation, the ability to record triggers and steps. And it's quite interesting because I've had a few modules recently that kind of do elements of that, but sort of do it in a module by itself that kind of works better, because the Neo Trinity is brilliant, but it's compact and it's crowded. There's a lot of stuff in there and it's quite easy to get lost because of what channel that you're on, but there's a lot of stuff in there. And for that, if you can learn it and practice it and become proficient at using the Neo Trinity, I think it's an extraordinary module. But if, like me, you kind of need a little bit more space around you, then I find there's other things that do it better. So for instance, the sequencing in the Neo Trinity is on a dial. You have to sort of go up and down in notes in order to make that work, rather than picking individual notes. But this does a very similar thing on the sliders, and the sliders are much easier to record and create a sequence on the play fader than it is to create it on the Neo Trinity, even though they do the same thing. And this is only 2 channels, that's 6 channels. So the Neo Trinity has a lot going for it, but this is actually a lot easier to use. Similarly with the triggering on it, which I thought was really clever, you can just tap in a bunch of triggers, and I like that within the sequence. But I have this thing here called the Detroit Pink 87, and that does a very similar thing, which I might, can you see that? Yeah, which I might show you. Shall I show you that? Why the heck not? Why the heck not? Any other dire questions people have got while I'm thinking about it? Talking about current and voltages. Flow of current, power, Ohm's law. Right, good. You keep going. So I'll just keep amusing myself. So that's always what's most important after all. So this thing here, I've used it a couple of times in a couple of videos, I think, but I haven't actually spoken about it specifically. And it's worth a video. It's just that it's always just finding the time. Let me get this out of the way. What's that going to? That's going to there. Do I care about that? I don't know that I do. Should I plug that back in here? Right, so this thing here, Detroit Pink something or other. So I'm going to need to turn the right thing up. It wasn't that one, was it? This one. Oh, turn it up here. Alright, I'll go with that. So, very simply, I've got that. What's that going to? What's that going to? Oh, that's going to the mutant rim shot. I don't know. Rim shots? Is that a thing? This is the hex inverter mutant rim shot, right? I blow hot and cold on percussion modules because it's like, what's the point again? I mean, it's like in some cases you just want to have a drum kit to do its thing, but there are so many percussion modules that are individually tailored to a particular sound that then give you every way of changing that sound. So it becomes like this massive sound design exercise just to create the tiniest blip, which I find that quite amusing sometimes. So I've got this whole module devoted to this rim shot. I'm going to have to show it to you now, aren't I? Not that one. There we go. So that is the mutant rim shot here. I mean, it's got a filter and stuff and things. It can obviously do a range of sounds, of course it can. So evidently it's going to be awesome if you give it a whole load of modulation, I suspect. See, I don't know what I'm talking about. So anyways, what I was saying basically about this thing here, about this module here, is that it just throws out triggers. You've got a record, or you've got a clear, or you've got a jam you can just play on, and you've got a button. So I'm selecting, I'm on channel, what channel is this going to? Trigger, channel 1 I think. So channel 1, I can clear it. So we're talking about the rim shot at the moment, yeah? Bring this in over here a little. So we're talking about the rim shot, and I've got 16 notes. It's being clocked from something or other, and all I've got to do is stick it in record and then hit what I want to happen. And there you go, it's instant drum machine. Very simple. So I can go to 2, put it into jam, and I can just add in a few bits. Or I can add to it. Go to channel 3, which is the kick drum, I think. And of course you have 16, 32 or 64. I mean, there's no like opportunity to put in variations or to save patterns or anything. It's just instant triggering. So you can instantly get a drum pattern going, or you can instantly fire envelopes, or trigger something else, or trigger something like the surface. Just create rhythms. Very simple, which is something which the Neo Trinity does. But this is just in a bigger interface. You can see what you're doing. Different things are floating around. You're not getting confused anywhere near as much. And you know, it's easy. It works. It's simple. It's a simple functionality. What's the tappy jump generator? That's just what I was using. What are you talking about? I'm telling you about it. Hello? It's called a Detroit Pink 87. Of course, I mean, you know, it's an intuitive name with nothing else. So yeah, that's that. That's a new thing. Is there anything else I need to do about that? That's funny. So yeah, those are things I'm playing with at the moment. In fact, I mean, I was having talking about features. I was having to talk to David at Sound on Sound about you know, modular reviews and Sound on Sound, because they would like to include more modules, but they just don't have the space. They've got like 2 pages, double page for modular stuff, and part of the problem is how many flipping features that that your app modules have these days. So you end up really struggling to be able to describe a module in the few hundred words that you've got. So we're sort of actively looking for simple modules. If it's simple, you know, if I can write something about it in 200 to 300 words, then fantastic. It will flipping be in a proper magazine. Whereas if it's overly complicated, that gets more difficult. It gets more difficult. So yeah, something which is simple, which has one function, like for instance the Molten bypass or the Molten motion meter, things like that. Good, simple, you know, that can take off in creative ways and creative avenues without having to be full of features. But what I could do is I could show you some things which are coming along. So I've got a lot of DIY Yeah, no, Make Noise does. I have very few Make Noise modules. I've got a Maths which is sitting unused over there, has been for years, and I had a Zero Coast, No Coast, which I did not get on with. I could have a pleasant afternoon with the No Coast, but only one. After that, it just got frustrating as hell. Where you go back to it, when you play with it and you go, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's really quite interesting. But then when you go back to it and feel, oh, I know what I'm doing. No, I really don't. Oh, it's really frustrating. I couldn't get it to do anything that I wanted. So no, I let that go. And I haven't really touched Make Noise since. I have a Rosie, which is very, very useful because it's an output utility. No, I think that's it. That's the only Make Noise thing I have. Everything else just seems hideously complicated. So things I've got coming up, right? I've got this is rather fun, which is, I can't even tell you what it is. Manual Override, it's called. Now this is part of a couple of different things from Biopower, which I've got mostly in kit form. So there's a module and then there's a joystick controller, which is similar to this. And the idea is that these connect via a network socket, which is a bit crazy, a network socket to a Eurorack module, which then spews control voltage everywhere. So you've got a bit of mixing, potentially, or triggering, swapping of things. And then you've got a joystick controller, which is going to give you modulation. And I've just got to build those other bits. I've got a heck of a lot of DIY at the moment. So that's something that's coming along that I'm quite interested in giving that a go. That looks kind of cool. It's the sort of thing that maybe could travel with your rack and give you perhaps external mixing, perhaps. Because, I mean, I've got this, the DPW mix up here as part of my system, and it's a 4-channel stereo mixer. It's great, but it's small. I mean, I've just reviewed the Board Brain Zirclon, is it called, which I've got in boxes over there, which is this mixer that takes up an entire row once you have the expanders in and other bits and pieces. But it's extraordinary. It gives you all of this space to move things around and to plug everything in. There's no compromises. You've got 2 auxiliary sends, full sends and returns. You've got voltage control over everything. It's just a beautiful, beautiful mixer. But it's huge. It takes up so much space. Whereas I kind of think something like this, which is light and simple. It's not an external mixer, but it could give me control over something like the Muton or something, or maybe just over a VCA, which I'm mixing stuff through, could be a much simpler way of doing that rather than trying to mix on a little module, on little bits. I don't know. It's just a thought. And it's the sort of thing which doesn't feel like it's going to break. It could easily fit in your bag. It's not going to add too much weight. Could be a good thing. I mean, perhaps it doesn't fit with the very cool dark aesthetic that you might be going for with your modular. But then, maybe not. Depends how fun you are. So I think that's called the, what's it called? No, it's called Manual Override. What's the side of the thing? This is the kit for the joystick. The joystick's in there. Lots of other bits and pieces. Yeah, I'm going to have fun putting that together, I reckon. So that's that. What else have I got in my DIY corner? I've got this, which is I've got a DivKid Trace to build, which I'll be doing tomorrow with a bit of luck. So that's cool. I probably shouldn't have told you that. Forget that one then. I've got Erica Synths BBD. So this is the latest in their MKI EDU range. It's a Bucket Brigade delay. Gert tells me it's the most superb Bucket Brigade delay anyone has ever made ever. So that's exciting. So I definitely want to have a build of that. I won't do it in a big sort of live stream breadboard thing, because I think, what's his name? Moritz does a really good job of those now by himself. He does really good videos on how to build it on a breadboard and how to explain what it's all about. So I'm just going to do a regular build video on it. I think that's fine. I think we did that the whole range of those EDU modules before. I think that was a worthwhile approach, but it was very time consuming. So I think that's cool. So I'm going to build one of those. I've also got this, which is from Divergent Waves, a Sycamore. So I can't remember what it does now. It looks a bit like that. It's got words like clock, seed, mutate, quantize. I'm trying to remember. But I seem to remember being thrilled when it arrived. So I'm going to build it to find out. It's got that to build. And I've got a div skip. Talking of overly featured modules, I've got a div skip to build. That ain't all. I've also got the new Neurolabs thing. Is that been announced? I don't know. I'm just breaking all embargoes at the moment. But yeah, this fella. It's another noise machine from Neutral Labs. Which is great. I love the little guy. I do. I love the little guy. He's fantastic. So yeah, got that to build. A few things, which is very exciting. Good bit of DIY to do. Good. So I've got that going on at the moment. So I've got a lot of DIY coming along. As far as general reviews go, I've got the Echo Cinematic from Modular to look at, which is sitting right here. I've also got the Black and Blue Foxtrot Duo, which is the two-channel version of their 4-channel big filter, which has like 4 different channels of 2-channel filters. This is just one of those. So within that filter, you get a ladder filter, you get an MS-20 filter, and you get a state variable filter, all in the one module that you can just switch between. And what you heard earlier when it was sort of screaming is the MS-20 filter within this. It's all digital, but it sounds flipping amazing. So I'm hoping to do a video on that. I've got all sorts of other things, like I've got that wonderful pianist thing sitting here. You know, that's fantastic. I want to do something on that. Got the replicant filter and the replicant ADSR. I want to do lovely videos on that. I've got the resonant thing here. DivKid's just done a video on the resonant FB, crazy Erica Synths EQ / filter thingy. Got that to have a look at. It's probably out of my league, really, thinking about it, but I'll give it a go. I've got the where is it gone? Got the plasma voice to do, which is fantastic. That's getting a bit of love at the moment in different places, so I need to do a video on that. That would be great, because this is quite a fun, interesting voice, and it's an entire voice as well. So I've got that to do, lots and lots. And I've also got a mantis over in a box over there that I want to go and have a go at. So, you know, lots of videos I could be doing, but I'm also doing a lot of writing at the moment. I just did a massive article also all about the OB series of Oberheim synthesizers. Got another article to write on the Memory Moog. Just finished one on ARP. So, you know, I'm going to town on these things. It's great. Lots to do. Robin's gone mad. Yeah, Deckard's Dream also sits up there mocking me. That just requires a little bit of headspace that I don't have at the moment. I mean, heck, I've got my birthday coming up in December. Maybe that's a treat for my birthday. But, okay, so I was trying to talk about things that I'm in the middle of. So the other things I'm in the middle of are 2 other projects, about 12 projects. One of which is it has the potential of actually being done, because I mean, as I talked about my income plummeting after leaving Gear News, so I've been having to look at different ways of starting to create some more revenue streams. So one of those ways is through releasing sample packs. Now, that in some ways that's always sounded a bit hackneyed to me. It always sounded like something that is something that other people do. And it's, I don't know, because it's rarely been something that I've been interested in buying myself, and so it's never appealed to me personally as something that I should do. But actually, I've been looking into it a lot recently, and it's much better than I thought it was, and much more interesting than I thought it was, and also much more doable than I thought it was. So, so talking about the plasma voice, for instance. I think I talked about this last time. I might have talked about this last time, but things have progressed, is all I'm saying. So, essentially, just to cut to the chase, is that I'm building a virtual instrument using the Decent sampler. And the plan is for me to, I mean, as I say, people have been doing this for years. I'm only just catching up, but it's a good idea. I like it. So the plan is for me to capture samples of the gear that I'm using and the gear that I'm reviewing, to grab that, fold it into an instrument and release it as a virtual instrument. There's parts of me that thinks that's morally reprehensible, that you're somehow stealing, but then that is ultimately sampling. And there's no way that I'm going to provide you with the entire soul or nuance of an instrument. I'm just going to take a bunch of samples to give you some interesting instruments to play with, because it may be something that you'll never ever get the chance of doing. And essentially they'll be my sounds because I'm crafting them. It's not as if I'm just taking samples of like bare waveforms or anything necessarily. You know, there'll be patches or sounds or something or other of it will be very individual to me. So that's a plan going forward, and that will be made available to my patrons, bless them, who have never had anything hardly at all ever out of me for free. So I'm going to make it available to my patrons for free, and also I'll be releasing it as like a $10, £10 or 20 quid or something thing that you can buy. And then as time goes on, I'll release more packs, and people who are patrons can get those for free, and other people can spend a £5 to get another sound pack for the next thing that I'm sampling. And that seems like a reasonable thing. If, you know, if each pack came with like 10 different instruments and it had a decent interface with, you know, filter and effects and that kind of thing, I think that would be worth it. I really do. And having looked at what other people release, that seems to be all right. That seems to be sort of on a level with the right sort of idea for a good little cheap way of getting some interesting sounds that nobody else perhaps has. I think that could work, you know. And if I sell, I don't know, 10 of those a month, that's suddenly another stream of revenue which keeps me afloat. You know, makes it worthwhile. Obviously, if nobody cares and nobody wants it, then, you know, whatever. But it seems like it could be a genuinely useful thing I can do that won't take too much extra time and provide something half decent. That's the plan. So I'm going to give that a go. And if you are one of my patrons, you would have seen that I've already posted like a demo version of how I understand it so far. I mean, all I've done is got to the point that I've created an instrument with my own sample set and tested that it works. I mean, that's as far as I've got. So there's a long way to go in actually formulating and creating instruments. But I think I've got the hang of the coding. I think I've got the hang of how to do it. It's just actually pulling my finger out and actually recording things, chopping it into samples and making it happen. So I'm quite excited about that, and I'm quite keen to get that done and finished and out there as a potential product. I think that's pretty cool. What? A cockerel sample pack? Yeah. No, that's definitely a thing. Don't forget Synth East. Yeah. I talked about that. What's going on? The Disting NT? Maybe. I ain't got time for that. I'm not sure if anyone's actually talking to me. but that's okay. So so yeah, that's one thing I'm working on, which is seriously close to actually being a thing I might actually get done, which is terribly exciting. The other thing, as I've talked about many times, is a remastering of an old album of mine on tape, which I really must also do, because I'm worried about my tape machine sitting up there that I haven't touched in a long time, and it's probably just fallen apart, or is full of spiders, or has demagnetized itself, or whatever it is that tape machines do. I have no idea. So I would very much like to spend a bit of time with that if I can find the time. The other project is, I've spoken about this before, I think, which is the idea of trying to get little modular systems together use modules I'm not using. I have too many modules. This is only a small selection. I've got because people send me modules, which is very kind. I do have a lot that I don't particularly use, and that to me is tragic in one respect. In another respect, there has to be a way of sharing these modules with the community, getting people to use them. So I've been looking into all sorts of ways of doing that. I've thought about a synthesizer library, or a module exchange, or all sorts of different ways of doing it. And the way that seems to be sitting with me the best so far is to actually lend out little modular systems in kind of like a subscription service. So it's like a book club, the idea. The idea is there's a little modular system. It's got a few, not completely random, but unrelated modules inside that hopefully will fit together and work together as some kind of system. Send that out to somebody gets it, they play with it for a month, and they send it on to the next person, for whoever and however many people want to participate and to essentially subscribe to this system. Because I can't just do it for free, because it will end up just costing me a load of money. So it has to be something that at very least pays for itself, so that these things can go out there. And also, if you involve a little bit of money, then it I think people treat it with a little bit more respect, inevitably. So it will be like a Patreon level. So you pay like £10 a month, and you are in, and you're in the book club or in the synth club, and you'll rotate through. You will be a whole bunch of little modular systems will come through that you can either use to augment your system for a bit, or to try out the modules individually by themselves. We'll have a continuing YouTube series of people using these little systems. All sorts of thoughts on how to make that good and interesting and special, and also for it to create another small revenue stream, or something that pays for itself and is useful to people. It gives people an opportunity to try more modules that they perhaps couldn't afford. There's so many good, fantastic reasons for doing it that I'm really sort of pushing to make that happen. The downside is, of course, you can just steal all the stuff and run off with it and sell it on eBay. But that would be a shame, because the whole thing would just come crashing down. But I mean, that's definitely a possibility. The only real way, I mean, one way to try to prevent that is to get everyone to come up with the cost of the system in the first place. But that seems to just defeat the object. So to have everyone paying a large deposit would mean I'd have to look after that money for one, which doesn't seem right. Again, it's sort of, it raises the bar to entry to only people who could afford it anyway, which seems to defeat the purpose. So that doesn't sit right with me, even though that's sensible. So the only way it's going to work is simply that people just don't do that. It's that people don't steal them or break them or eat them or whatever. They use it and they pass it on. That's the only way it can work. So as long as everyone's on board with that, then I think it will be excellent. So that's the plan. It'll be a slow plan. It's going to take some time, because we're looking at getting cases built with Strider Machina, and we're working together on doing a little case, and then trying to work out what to put in them. Because initially I just thought, any old junk will do, but it's Lavandel made a good point that surely it's better to have a system that works by itself, so that even if you didn't have any modular, you could experiment and make noises with it. That's very, very true, I think, and a good idea. but it just requires a lot more thought, which I wasn't counting on. So, yeah, I mean, I think if someone can't pay their way, that person can't participate. No, I don't think that's it at all. I think, I mean, essentially you are, it's not going to just be random people. It's people who are going to have to sign on to a thing with proper payment details and that kind of stuff. I mean, you can, of course, disconnect from Patreon and just disappear. That's true, but there is a certain amount of accountability there. And also there's a community accountability too. You know, if somebody disappears, takes the opportunity to rob me of a couple of £100, that seems an awful sort of risk to alienate yourself from an entire community, because we would make a fuss about it. You know, we would tell people that this person has taken all this gear. So it feels like it could police itself, you know, and I appreciate that it's a risk, you know, but I think you know, the problem with that sort of thinking is that nothing nice ever happens. You never get a chance to do anything because everything's just far too risky. I think if you assume that people are going to take part in the right spirit and it will work out, then you just hope that it does. I don't know, maybe I'm just hopelessly naive. I don't know. I still like it as an idea. One module at a time. Yeah, see, there's lots of different ways of looking at it. It could be one module at a time, but those are kind of easier to lose. I like the idea of like these systems traveling around the place, you know. Could send them to all sorts of interesting people to make patches on them, who then make a video of it, or send me a video of them making patches. And they could have a life all of themselves, these individual things that travel around and people make a fuss of. You know, I think that's really nice. Individual modules, yeah, I mean, a library's all right, but again, it comes down to how much you charge for all of that. You know, how much does it cost to rent a module? And if you're sending out individual modules, you've got the postage and you've got all these other bits and holding onto the stock and managing, you know, the rental and the not rental. You know, I did look into this quite seriously on having a module library. In fact, I even have a mock library out there with 100 modules in it, you know, that I took photos of and wrote descriptions for. You know, I've looked at that, but it just ends up being kind of expensive and time consuming to manage, a lot of postage. Whereas as a system, if we had half a dozen systems going around people, that seems to be more manageable. There's more to it. It has a reason to exist. It has its own identity, if you like. Can you hear that as well? My distant defrag. Yeah. Why are we back to that? Can you still hear that? See, the weird thing is, it's not even coming from the right place. All right, that's coming through the speakers, so that must probably be something. That's something plugged in somewhere. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. You can have a good relationship with the courier company these days. Possibly. That's possible, I suppose. Can you insure the rig? Who would insure it? You know, that's a whole another cost involved in that. Well, I mean, possibly, again, that's something I can look at. You know. complete systems are going to be more tempting to sell. No, I don't think so. I mean, we're not talking about something like this. We're talking about 3 modules in a small case. 3 to 4 modules. It's not going to be the sort of system that you can sell that would make any sense. It's going to be an interesting curated system that's very, very distinct in its case. It's very distinct in its branding. Of course, you can take the modules out and sell them, but you're going to have to do that at the same time as having a relationship with me through Patreon or through whatever system by which we make that happen. We're going to be having conversations, and you're going to be barefacedly taking those things from me and then selling them on, at which point we'll be telling the world about how awful you are. How is that a good way to do anything? I mean, we're talking about such a niche market, a niche bunch of people, you lot, knocking around. Really, do you think it's possible that within this niche of a niche that there'll be someone who will be bothered to sign up to pay £10 to have their PayPal information sent to me, to then have their name and address given so that I can send something to them, go through all of that to then try to sell these dodgy old modules of mine that are like 4 years old on the second-hand market? What, for drugs? I don't know. I can't see how that is a thing. Is it? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it's a nice thing. Working on that. So that's something else I'll do. What time is it? All right, it's getting on. We should probably bring this to a close, I should think. So any last questions? Any other things I need to talk about? I need to mention? I don't know. There are services that lend hardware. Yeah, well, there are. The thing is, I mean, if you're looking into rental companies, you do tend to have to put down a large deposit. It then all comes in big flight cases, cost an absolute fortune in delivery charges. When lending out audio gear, that's a whole thing. Trying to do it simply, easily, cheaply, in a community sort of way, that's just kind of cool. I mean, I'm really inspired by the New York Synth Library. They literally lend out stuff for free. You have to go along and sign a few bits of paper and do a little course in how it all works, but that's what they do. And I love that idea, but I'm not. I mean, if I was in London, then it's something potentially that I can do, but I'm nowhere near a sort of a place where it would make any kind of sense, travelling and location sense for people to come and borrow stuff and come and take it away. So that kind of option is out of it, I think. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. There'll be things like, yes, it's a good idea to do at the very least a Zoom, some kind of thing where we're talking to each other, and because it is supposed to be like like I say, like a book club where you're joining in this idea of trying out these systems and talking about and discussing them. There'll be a Discord all about it, a YouTube channel, the whole 9 yards. So it would be really difficult, I think, to enter into that for the. I mean, there's just easier ways to make money, I think, to steal things. Are I able to rustle up a 4 to the floor Detroit style on the Tappy Detroit module? Yeah, probably. Yeah, so all right, we'll leave it there then, and I'll knock together a quick tune for the last 10 minutes, and then, as I say, head over to @getjarvis let's get this right, @getjervis. He's doing a live stream at 10, a little bit of modular fiddling. To go and visit him. If anybody has the link to his things, drop it in the chat by all means, and I'll have a little play on here and see if I can get something working. I had something working earlier. I've messed it about now. So let's see what I can do. Oh yeah, let's put it like that so you can potentially see a little bit more of what I'm doing. Maybe. Can I make that slightly bigger? That's as far as that's going to go. Well, how about that? But that's something, isn't it? You can see some of that. La-di-da. Right, I'll stop talking for a bit. Sorry about and I'll make some noises. I was doing something with this. Somebody wanted something to fall to the floor, but I've got this to start with, haven't I? Yeah, you can. So where's that going? That's going from that. That's going from that. That is going from that. That's going that. That is that. That's a couple of out. That's up. That's up. This is 4. No, that's not it. Oh, over here.